Let's see. Oh, cool. Yay. So, welcome back to another Chat and Learn with Power to Fly. This is an awesome community with access to our own video library with expert advice from coaches, employers, and there are many, many cool summits happening throughout the year. So, we welcome you and thank you so much for joining us. We will go over just a couple of guidelines to help us with the event. And inside this Bevy platform, you'll see the chat, and then in the general, everyone is welcome to post your comments and your thoughts in there. And then you'll also see that next to that is a Q&A, and I have begun to post some of the questions in there, and feel free to vote on the ones that you are most interested in hearing about, and we will walk through those together. And then if you want to send a private message to me, to Valerie, you can go to the DM and then find our name to go and do that. So yeah, feel free to tag us on social, and also I will also post our contact information here in the chat real soon. Yes, and our chat is being recorded, so just to let you know, so that you can watch it later. Yeah, when you get a chance to want to review it again, we'll send you the link by email in a couple of days. And cool. So just a bit about me. Nice to meet you. I am your moderator for today, and I have had experience in UX and research and design, and I love to talk and have good conversations to bring us closer. Always here for a good time, and you can find me on LinkedIn, on Instagram, and then off to Valerie. We'd love to hear from you. Can you tell us a bit about yourself and your blog?
Sure, thank you. And by the way, like Katy and I met on Clubhouse. That means she loves to talk, but she's also an excellent moderator, and that's actually where we met. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us. It's like global. I can see so many people popping in. Thank you to Monica and Alan. Welcome. My name is Valerie Mekki. I am from LA. I am a blogger and a content creator. The name of my blog is Oh Hello Work Life. And the blog goes over, it shares ideas on how to start a side hustle, a small business, how to level up in your career, and most importantly, how to pivot from your current job into a new career. And yeah, I mean, I want to get started and kind of share with you that I'm currently on my third pivot. And where I'm landing right now is in the blog space. And I'm so excited about it because I feel like it's finally aligning to who I am personality wise and my core values and giving me a purpose.
Great. Cool. Awesome. And today, the topic, like Valerie said, is we're going to be talking about pivots in our careers, and how can we do that without feeling guilt, shame, and fear, and how to align your work with your passion, and all take the tactical steps and mindset shift to make those career pivots. And yeah, let's get going. I will stop sharing so that we can see each other. And yeah, I want to just start with the first question is, how do I confidently pivot without self-doubt and feeling like I don't know enough about the area?
I do want to say that I don't think we can ever really escape self-doubt. right? We're going to be honest here. That's just my like personality. I want to be super transparent. I still deal with self-doubt every day. However, it can start to quiet down once you start taking small steps. I think that's what helps with self-doubt is when you put little actions towards it. You can't expect yourself to be fully confident or fully master anything overnight. It just does not work like that. But small moments in learning and research and gaining information can make you feel more confident about moving into the right direction. So my first tactical step with any career move is, well, let me back up a little bit because I can share with you my first career pivot was very successful. It landed me from being in the manufacturing side of the fashion industry. That's where my background is, the fashion industry. I started off in manufacturing and I pivoted over to the buying and product development side, which is kind of a little unheard of. That usually doesn't happen. But what I was able to successfully pivot over from the manufacturing to the merchandising side, that lasted for 15 plus years in that role. And then after the fashion industry, decided to be a entrepreneur and launch my home staging business. Now that only lasted 2 years. So there's a big difference, right? And number one, when I was in the manufacturing role, I was able to work closely with the buyers in the department, and I observed and I asked questions, and I was able to serve them with making sure that their deliveries were on time. So they had confidence in me and they trusted my abilities. So when it came time to ask more questions about buying, they were happy to share that with me. They were happy to let me know when a position was available because I shared that with them. Like, hey, I'm kind of interested in it, but I did my job really well in my current role. And so that's what helped with the transition over is because I gained trust and created a space of authority. And I, in some ways, networked with them, even though we were working in the same company. That's probably even a much easier transition when you're doing a career pivot is when you're able to do it within the same company. It's like what they call an entrepreneurial shift, right? So that probably is a less riskier route.
Yeah, it's always it's like fear of the unknown. So it begins with step by step asking questions and maybe to yourself and also to whoever's around you who can help answer some of the questions. Or if they don't know the answer, they can direct you to someone who might know. Yeah.
Right. And so the second time I made my career pivot, I totally skipped that part. I didn't research anyone. I didn't make any connections in the beginning. I just thought, hey, I'm, mid-career person. I'm, was a director before, like I can do this, right? I think I was overly confident that I knew how to pivot into another industry, which is home staging, to get into a different industry. And I was completely wrong. You should definitely always do the research, have informational interviews, and if you can, shadow someone. I think that is something that people should try to ask for. So the first thing is research what you're going to pivot into. There's Google, there's LinkedIn. LinkedIn, if you use the search bar, it's just like Google. It'll pull up posts, it'll pull up influencers. And then I would request for informational interviews. I actually wrote a blog about how to ask for informational interview in 21 questions. So you can, if you go in the blog, you can pull up that article and I'll give you a list of questions. But this morning, I'm not sure if Danielle is here, but she requested for a informational interview. We didn't know each other. And she was so prepared. She had her questions ready to go. She and asked them it was very thoughtful questions. So when you're in the moment of informational interviews, that's your opportunity to build that trust, to make so that when you are ready to make that full transition over, you already have an ally right there.
Yeah, sorry for the noise outside.
That's okay.
Yeah, let's go to the next one, which is yeah, what if you're not sure which industry or job is best to pivot to?
Hmm. I I would say um, I have to go back to the research and also the informational interviews. If you really don't have an idea of what to do next and you just feel completely stuck, I would allow yourself to sit in that and really be okay with that. Um, I would have to say this current career pivot happened when it was during the pandemic. I was laid off last year in April 2020, right at the height of the pandemic. And during that time, we were kind of all forced to stay at home. And during that time, I tried to do job search, but nothing really was coming up. So it really forced me to think about what do I want to do next. And I had a lot of informational interviews, something that I thought I was going to segue into something that would be closer to what I was doing in terms of like buying and sourcing. And so I did little mini steps like, oh, maybe I'll just go into project management. Found out that I'm not really sure I liked it. And then I was like, oh, maybe I'll like, you just keep walking down the journey, because sometimes it just starts with staying with where you're planted at, and then seeing if there's something that you can slightly pivot to, find out more information about that, and then keep following your curiosity, because eventually you will find it. You'll find that alignment.
It's great. I love it. Thank you. Um, up next is I work in digital marketing and IT and want a career change, but have no idea what else I could do. Where should I start?
So they're in IT, in digital marketing, and they're not really sure where to start.
Mhm.
Um, Gosh, I mean, for me, I would say that a career pivot, in my own explanation of when I think of a career pivot, I think of the dance move. I'm not sure if you know what a pivot looks like, but basically a pivot is you have one foot planted and then your body turns a different direction, but you still have that one foot planted before you make a move, right? Like one of my favorite dance moves. I was a dancer all my life. And so when I think of career pivots, that's what I think of. I think of a way of how do I still leverage what my experience and my background is before I make that move. Because somewhere within there, you're naturally good at what you're already doing in your current job. You may not be fulfilled with it right now, but it doesn't mean that you have to like abandon it altogether, right? If you're not sure where you want to go, I would say start making an inventory of what you're really good at. What are your natural talents and what lights you up? And it doesn't even have to be professionally related, right? It could be something that you like to do for a hobby. There's probably going to be some common themes that you'll find once you sit down and you have that moment of calm and you start to write, what am I naturally good at? What do people ask me to do? What lights me up inside? I think that is the start of really trying to move in that direction, because you'll see some common themes come up.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Just trying things out. And also, I definitely heard about maybe asking a couple of people to give some, like, as an outsider, give a view of or ideas of like what you are good at from
Yes.
someone looking in from the outside. Yes.
Because sometimes you can't see what you're good at, right? And I think for myself, it's hard for me to even admit that I'm good at certain stuff, right? I don't know if it's my own personality. I'm never been raised to be boastful. I don't know if it's a cultural thing, but sometimes it's very helpful. I'm not going to say sometimes. It's very helpful for you to get some support around you who can be really honest with you and share with you, hey, what do you notice in my personality, or what natural talents come up that you notice that I can't see?
Great.
And then once you hear it, you're like, oh yeah, I am really good at that.
Yeah. Yeah. And then if you hear from a few people and they keep doing the same thing, then it maybe kind of confirms it. Yeah.
You're just like picking up on signals, and you're just going to start collecting data.
Yeah. So the next one is, how do you pivot into a new career when the title does not align? So I guess maybe in the job description, a lot of the things are some things that you already do, but the title is just completely different. What's your thoughts there?
Oh, okay. So when the title is different, but you're pivoting towards that, I'm trying to understand the question. If it's more about like trying to understand what the job is and doesn't really align with your new career pivot, then I definitely would have to pull in talking to the recruiter or the hiring manager and ask more questions about it to clearly define and make sure. But you should be able to pick up on those key maybe programs, software programs. Like you should be able to find those keywords in the job description that will align with it. Now, I also kind of read that question, and I also thought like, hey, what happens when you career pivot and there's not a lateral move, right? Because your way of lifestyle and what your budget or what your finances, what they are today, will always be a lateral move over to a career pivot. And it's an unpopular opinion, but that will never happen. You will never have a pivot that will be a lateral move and the same, salary in the title. You just don't have that experience yet, but that's okay, because I would rather make less money and be fulfilled working towards that dream job, even not dream, but just more satisfying, than staying really unfulfilled and stuck in a job that just pays me just to pay the bills. So I hope I was able to answer that question.
Yeah, that makes sense. And also, if you're here and you want to clarify, please write to us.
Yeah.
And we already have some really great messages coming in. You will find your alignment from Alif, and then Carol. Do what lights you up. Yeah, great.
Yes. Great. Hi, Alif. We met on LinkedIn. Carol, you were here first. Thank you for joining us. Yes.
Great. So, how do I get an interview if my resume is still not working?
Well, I would have to say, how do I get an interview? With any new career pivot, you're going to have to give yourself some time to get to be known into the industry, into the conversations of this new, like the influencers that are in this industry, or other people who, the company that you are looking towards, that you want to work for. This is a good time to follow them on LinkedIn and to see what they're posting, what they're talking about. When I say like influencers in the industry, you know that there are influencers or thought leaders in every industry. Your job now as a newbie about to make a career pivot is take the time to get to know who these people are, what are they talking about, because more likely the reason why they are an influencer or a thought leader is because they have people who are following, like-minded people who are following them. Once you start to read their post, get involved in their post, you should start commenting and really start getting into the conversation. That is probably the best way that you could learn more about your new industry or a new company. It's about like building that trust and making a space of authority. I pretty much sure if you were able to network in that way and really build authentic connections, you probably will get you can probably get an interview that way.
Yeah. Yeah,
Your right, right, it's the best way.
yeah, it feels like it's better if you are able to find someone who's working in the company to send the resume to.
Yes.
Is that what? Yeah, and then
Internal
also
referrals or referrals in general.
yeah, and then also I feel like if you're going for a very specific role, then try your best to maybe tailor the resume to that role that you're
Absolutely.
going for. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm all for hiring resume writing coaches, right? Because you have these skills, but maybe you're not wording it correctly. So it's definitely a value to hire someone who can be able to word it. We're not born copywriters. Some of us aren't really good in how we describe what we do, but why don't you source it out and work with someone who knows how to word it correctly? So if you need any, if you need any suggestions on copyright or not copyright, but resume writers, like please connect with me on LinkedIn. I know there's so many on LinkedIn.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Next one is a little bit, maybe I was also trying to understand the question, but
Okay.
it's like, can you talk about titles and salary when you pivot your career at mid senior level? And so I'm thinking about, okay, how far away is this person deviating from their
Mm,
industry and role? And then also, like, how can we feel like we can make our experience count? That it didn't go like our, what do you,
a waste of
transferable skills.
time.
Yeah.
But I think a waste of time is staying in a job that you're not fulfilled with and it's not aligning with what where you're at. We as humans, we're always evolving. That will never change. Just because you were super passionate about it right after college and you worked in the industry or whatever in your role for so long, it doesn't mean that you don't have permission not to like it anymore. I think people need to give themselves some grace and some time to realize that you are always evolving and you're going to get influence internally and externally by life experiences, by what you hear and what you see, what you feel. So I would definitely encourage people to not give themselves such a hard time on making that change, but also be realistic that when you are starting, when you are a beginner, it's going to take some time and to get to the mastery level, right? You're in college for X amount of years and then you're an intern and then you're the new kid on the block. That's not going to be that much different when you're doing your career pivot.
Cool. Yeah, let's move on to the next one. This is a question I have for you, that because I saw that you wrote about accountability entourage. Can you
Yes.
talk a bit about that one?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like I I came up with that when you decided that you're going to make the move, and you're ready to make that change. Well, you have to have people around you that are going to hold you accountable. um, I I strongly believe that the people you need people to support you on all different facets of this change. Someone who is a huge supporter of you, right? Your super fan, you can do no wrong. They're just going to pump you up whenever you have a really bad day, right? And then there's someone who they will challenge and make you think if you have any blinders on about a situation you're going in. Because some people get really excited about a career change, but they haven't thought about it all the way through, right? So those are the people that you need in your life to say, hey, wait a minute, have you ever thought about this or that? They can maybe help slow things down and give you a new perspective. Um, And then I don't know why I'm blanking on the last one, but
Is it
so you have your
challenger?
well, the challenger is definitely the one that is going to make you like think differently. And then there's also the person who's going to be your inspiration, right? So
Yeah.
you're making this career change and this move, and there's someone there who's like 10 steps, maybe even like 3 or 4 years ahead of you. You should reach out to them for an informational interview and talk to them. What does your day in, day out life look like? Be inspired by them. That's the person that you want to one of these days. That's exactly where I want to head towards, exactly what that person is doing. It's good to have an inspiration.
I love it. This is so cool. It's sinking in, and
Yeah.
I definitely will go and review it later.
You
Okay.
can't do it alone. You know, we don't experience life alone. And then this moment and this like career changing moment, this is a really monumental moment for someone. You can't do it alone or hold it inside. You need support around you.
Great. And then the next one is what are the tips for pitching your pivot to a greater network for support and solidarity? And I just have to get my charger. I totally forgot, but yeah, I'll be here
Totally,
for sure.
totally, yeah.
Yeah.
So what is the tips to pitch? Well, I guess I would have to say I would before you would even pitch your people in your industry, have you done a good job about building that trust and authority um, with this new set of people or influence this community that you're entering in? I think that's more important that you are building the trust and authority, that you have something to say about this new industry, that you are supporting people in this industry, that you show up and make comments on other people's posts in this new industry. It's really making sure that you serve others before you expect anything to be served back, right? I don't think you have to pitch a community or to anyone until like as long as you build that trust and authority with them, right? Like
Yeah.
you won't have to work that hard, but you have to show up for other people first.
Yeah, it made me think about sort of like finding your mentor, but then it's like maybe asking them, oh, how can I shadow and do
Yes.
something for you, and so that I can practice and
Yes.
learn from you. Yeah.
Yeah, and also ask them, I read your content online, and make sure that you really are reading the content and that you are sharing what landed for you, what resonated with you with that content. I think that's a really great way to say thank you to someone for putting themselves out there. But then also ask them how is there any other way that I can support you rather than just commenting? And then that starts a dialogue and showing them, hey, I support you in this. So that is also good, right? And then once they know that you are on their team and supportive, they'll be willing to support you when the time is right.
Cool. I just want to answer Kathy's question. She's been waiting for us. So it's the challenge to pivot is where companies asking for 5 years of experience in the role. What do you do there? What's the recommendation?
That's right. When you in the world. Well, you have to be honest with yourself. Is that the right role for me yet? And if they're asking for 5 years in that role, do you really have the experience yet? Maybe you don't. However, if you feel like you do, and you can articulate your way in saying, here are the transferable skills from my last career, or my background, and let me share with you how it is transferable. That's when a coach can come in to help coach you with the interview and also with your resume. I'm really big on coaches.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And always, yeah, and always like if you do not apply, then you're giving yourself a no, you know. Yeah. Let others tell you no, and then
Yeah,
talk it out and
that's a
see how you
great
can turn it
point.
to a yes. Yeah.
Yeah, if you can turn into a yes, how successful is that? And also, if you go and you try for the role, wouldn't it be awesome to kind of find out where your gaps are?
Mhm.
And if you can land that first interview, and let's say you don't get it, that's okay because there's plenty of other role or there's options out there. However, wouldn't it be pretty awesome to find out, like, okay, I know I didn't make it, but can you share with me from your point of view, what am I missing here? That will give you more information to work on for your next time that you're going to apply for a similar role.
Mhm. Yeah, and then it's another practice to get better at giving an interview. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Post interviews, I'm a big fan of it. If you've been rejected, find out why. You may not always get the answer, you might not hear back from them, but always try to get information back. It's going to help you.
Okay. What other platforms are there for virtual networking other than LinkedIn?
Okay. I'm really big on I love Clubhouse. Obviously, went at the top of the hour. You and I, that's how you and I met. I think that with Clubhouse, you just never know who's in the room. And you can get to know their personality just by hearing their voice and what they say. You putting yourself out there, you can instantly make a connection, and you don't even know who they are really, but they could be that one connection that you need to get in the industry. So it's really being whatever platform you decide to go on that you feel comfortable doing, make sure that you're active on it and make sure that you're following like-minded people that you're looking to move into that new industry, and follow them and really start to listen to what they're saying. Who else are they following? What else are they commenting on? Kind of have a little bit of a stalker mode. I know it sounds a little creepy, but you really aren't going to be able to like emerge and get yourself submerged into those conversations until you follow those thought leaders and those influencers. Another place that I like to go to is Lunch Club. And I think there's something called Meetup, but Lunch Club is one-on-one conversations. And I've tried it a couple of times. It was great. I love Clubhouse a little bit more just because you have, an option of leaving a room silently and going to a different one. So I like options. That's just my personal preference, but Lunch Club is an awesome way to get to know people. I think you have to be invited. This is a really great opportunity to use LinkedIn to find people who are on Lunch Club, right? To ask for an invitation as well. Closed mouths do not get fed.
Yeah, also definitely come back to more of these chat and learns and share your details with the room. You never know who's here participating in the
Yes.
chat. And yeah, if you need an invite to Lunch Club, message either one of us, and we should be able to share it with you. And I've also tried it. It's been really helpful for me to engage with others and learn from others, and also just have a chance to talk about myself, like do the elevator pitch and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
And
And
get
I
some feedback.
apologize. I think I should probably explain what Lunch Club is. So you sign up and you fill out your profile, and they'll ask you some questions. What are your intentions of being on Lunch Club? What are you looking for? What makes you interesting? Here's your LinkedIn. You can put your LinkedIn. I think you have to put in your LinkedIn profile as a link to it, so that it's a professional platform as well, right? But it really gives you the opportunity to go one-on-one with different people.
And Heather here just asked about, do you think a functional or traditional resume is more accepted by employers? Do you have information on that?
A functional or a traditional?
Yeah.
Not really sure. Is it
I
Heather
feel,
who was?
oh, I feel like to me, maybe it's like, is it a chronological order, or do you kind of group
Mm,
some related jobs into categories? maybe. I'm just guessing, but yeah.
No, yeah. And
Yeah.
I'm not a resume expert here. I'm only going to kind of pull my experience and what I have read and what I have learned is that your resume shouldn't have to be chronological. You shouldn't have to put every single detail. You have to look at the recruiter's eyes or the hiring manager eyes. They only spend 6 seconds on a resume. What are your best and highlights of your career so far? I'm a really big believer in like you're not putting objectives and putting what your qualities and what your characteristics are, what you're known for at the very top. That is related to your new, wherever you're pivoting to. Those are the ways that, yes, you may not have that hardline experience, but you probably can articulate in a way and showing examples of what you've done before that is related to this new role, but putting up some highlights at the very top. Make sure that you capture them like headlines so they'll stop the scroll or whatever they'll stop to connect with you.
Cool. Yeah, we did get the confirmation in regards to the functional versus the traditional. Yeah, and it is correct. And also, yeah, Nara is interested in getting an invite. So yeah, just feel free to message us afterwards, and we'll get you there. And Alif asked a question about how do you turn an informational interview into a job offer? And we do have a comment from Kathy that it may not be recommended, but what are your thoughts,
I don't
Valerie?
recommend it at all. No,
Okay.
that is one of the do not do's in my list in my blog is don't expect that you're going to get a job offer. That's not what you're there for. No one wants to feel like they've been cornered.
Mhm.
Once they feel like that, you're not building a relationship off of trust, and that is how you handle the quality and how you handle the relationships with your net worth work is going to be your net worth going into it, right? So pump the brakes. I know it's exciting and you're looking at this person like this could be my key person to get me into that company. No, like it's all about nurturing. It's all about nurturing that relationship. And really, when you're there, it's all about them, right? People love to talk about themselves. Do not insert yourself into that conversation. It's really just more like ask them all about them. They'll walk away feeling like, oh my God, I just spent 25 minutes feeling great. I feel like hopefully I helped them, that I was able to talk about myself. Make sure you leave someone feeling great about themselves and they'll remember you, promise.
Cool. Yeah, great. Great to have that question asked. Thank you, Alif. And so, yeah, now, okay, what happens if you made the transition and you kind of not really sure about it? Should you stick with it, and how long do you test it out to see what to do next?
Yeah, I am a really big believer if it's not aligning with whatever your expectations are, do not freak out. It does happen. That's just life, right? I would continue though to show up 100% though. Do not let this moment of feeling doubt get in the way of your quality of work, because at the end of the day, you're really representing your personal brand, right? It's your reputation. And so if you're going to exit gracefully. Make sure that when you are there in this new role and it's just not cutting out to whatever it is, make sure you do it with grace, because you just never know where it will lead you to and who will help you connect with them, as long as you protect your personal brand, even when maybe you made the wrong turn. And I
Okay.
can't answer, for anyone like how long you should stay. I think only you know what your how long you have until you really just can't move forward with it anymore. But make sure that you're giving it a real try. It may feel funny at first to being a beginner, especially if you go from like a director role down to like an entry level. Obviously, that's just reality. You're going to have all these emotions come up. You're going to try to stick through it and ask yourself, am I feeling uncomfortable because I'm uncomfortable being a beginner again? Or I really just don't like this job and I made a mistake, right? I feel like those are two different things.
Yeah, it's kind of like maybe now you found out, so there's no regret because you've figured out, oh, this is not what I want, and then you tried, and you can put that aside and keep going. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. Or maybe honestly ask yourself, am I just feeling this way because I don't like feeling like I'm a beginner again?
Mhm.
Kind of unpack that.
Yes, great. Okay, so what can someone who has already gone through the career shift, so
Mhm.
it's kind of a little bit similar, do if they're facing uncertainty in the new position? Um, gosh, I want to know what the, like, yeah, like what you said, maybe dive into a bit more and understand what it is, like whether it's because it's really tough and challenging being a beginner, or it's something else, or it's you just feel like.
Or maybe it's just not the right company,
Mm,
right? Like you have to really comb through it and say, well, maybe I really actually still like the role. I'm really excited to continue to climb and master this role, but maybe it's the company that doesn't align with you and your core values and how you show up. You have to be super honest with yourself.
mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's really important to like really do a little bit of like exploration and reflection, and whatever it may be, writing in a journal, or like
Yeah.
voice give yourself some voice memo to talk out loud to yourself, what it is that is bothering you, and then or yeah, find other people to chat with, to talk through the emotions behind it, and then also then get to the place of thinking about, okay, that's the responsibility and the job, but then also like what's the environment that you want, and like what you
Yeah.
actually love to talk to a lot of people every day, or is what kind of team are you thinking of like wanting to be surrounded by as
Yeah, I think you bring up a good point. 2 points that it dawned on me when you were sharing. So thank you for sharing. Is every morning I like to write in my journal for 5 minutes, and I call it the brain dump, and just let everything out. That's actually where I get my key like signals of something that I need to maybe like work on or think about a little bit more, just because I'm just letting it all out, right?
Mhm.
So I think it's good for people to write out what they're, because I think people tend to, I know I do, overthink things. So seeing it black and white on paper, it kind of makes a difference. You can really see like, oh, it really does bother me, right? In this. And the second part of what you brought up is it's okay to start daydreaming again and be visual and think about, okay, if I had the opportunity of a perfect situation, what would that look like? And what would that be? What would my team look like? What would the company look like? I'm really big about like thinking about what that could be in terms of like visualization and working your way towards that way. So when you are back on the job search, you'll have those non-negotiables in your mind of what will bring the best out of you, what will allow you to show up
Mhm.
fully. What does
I
that
want
company look like?
Yeah, that's okay. Great. Awesome. I love it. Yeah, please continue to share and whatever that is popping into your mind. We've actually come to the end of the prepared questions. So if there's anyone who has um, other questions, like please feel free to submit it. I also want to ask about, you have the 21 questions to ask in an informational interview. Do you have some favorites? Like, what are the top, like, if you don't have that much time and you only have 15 minutes with someone, like, what are the top questions that you might ask?
Yeah. And by the way, those 21 questions, they're half of them are for like a new career, and then half of it is if you want to start your own business, because they're just a little bit different, right? My favorite ones that I love to make sure that you ask is, can you paint a picture for me what your day looks like? I think when we have our career pivot, it kind of starts in this like I said, it's totally okay to like daydream. And then when you are have the opportunity to get in front of someone, ask them what that day to day looks like, because I want to make sure that you get a realistic picture and that it still feels good to you, right? Like, oh, that sounds super interesting. I'm really interested in that. Before it kind of like pops your bubble a little bit and makes it into a little bit more realistic. So when that time actually does come, you're not going to be surprised. And then those questions of what happens when you have regret when you move over. Well, maybe if you took some time to do more research and to ask those date, what paint a picture for me, what your day looks like, you'll probably have a better idea, a more realistic idea of what to expect, and not some fairy tale point of view of what it's going to be.
Mhm.
I want you to be disappointed,
Mhm. Yes, checking in with reality and how it matches up with your dream, and
Mhm.
seeing
Yeah,
maybe some compromise to make. But it's great then to hear firsthand of this
from someone
person
who's
sharing with
enjoying it.
you as
Yeah.
much.
And I also ask them, like, how long did it take you? That also will be a nice idea of a reality of how long it will take you. Because if you are used to a lifestyle of bringing in a certain amount of income, and you may have to go to school or and go through a course, what does that really look like, so you can plan accordingly and adjust going forward? You have to make sure that your financial runway supports your new pivot too.
Mhm. Yeah, I love to go back to like, how do you actually like align with your passion? Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
How do you align with your passion? Well, here's the thing for me and my experience is that because I was laid off in April of 2020, it gave me a time to like sit with open space, with not having to um, actually really questioning myself. Okay, what do I want to do going forward? Because what I thought was a job security of going back into manufacturing ended up not being right, because we have to be realistic that corporate jobs are not guaranteed, right? They can lay you off at any moment, right? So I really wasn't prepared for that. But during the pandemic, we all had this opportunity to sit with it and to kind of ask ourselves, what do I want to do? And for me, that was finding out what are my core values. I guess once I was forced to sit and think about it, because I wasn't representing a company anymore, because that's what I used to do. I'm very loyal to any company I work for. I was their number one fan and I only did things for them. But when that is stripped away from you, you kind of have to ask yourself, okay, what does Valerie want? What is the core values that is important to me? And for me, it was belonging, it's creativity and curiosity. And so when I kept those in my mind, I made sure whatever I decide to choose Is it have a sense that I can serve, making sure that whoever I'm working with or whatever I'm doing, that it has a sense of belonging for someone else? Is it creative? Does it light me up in that way? And how do I continue my curiosity? And that is how I found blogging, to be honest with you, which is really strange because I never thought of myself as a writer. In my household, I was like the creative dancer and the artist. No one ever really employed on me to say, hey, you can write too. That was never talked about in my house. It was my sister who was really the academic. And so I just started to learn more about writing and blogging, and then actually I found that there's actually creativity in it, and there's a way to serve people by giving out information. And then that definitely sparked my curiosity. I'm always learning a new subject and sharing it in my blog. So those are the three things that I discovered about what my core values are, and I applied it towards my career pivot. And I think this is going to be, a long-term pivot this time because it aligns with what I'm passionate about and my purpose.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Yeah, I also want to make sure that we're like being the cheerleader for everyone here.
Yeah.
So, when you do the pivot and there's a block, or it feels like a failure, like how do we keep going? Like, what are the words of wisdom for us?
I don't think there is such a thing called failure. I think it's about collecting information and taking the next step. Failure would be to not do anything about it and to sit feeling stuck and feeling unfulfilled and not living in your joy and showing up in the world in that way. That's the only failure I think that is what I would define as failure. But if you're trying and it just didn't meet your expectations, then just collect the data and find out what happened, where was the misstep, and try again.
Mm-hmm. Hey, okay, so let's we're coming to the close. Do you feel complete with what's been shared? And maybe you've been telling me that you were working on a course that putting together. What's that all about?
Yeah, thanks for letting me share. So for me, as you guys know, I shared with you that I was laid off, and this layoff was actually a surprise for me. I thought I was a part of the essential team, but unfortunately, due to the impacts of COVID-19, I was let go, and I was let go one of like 5 people. So that also had impact of negative talk in my head. It had a lasting impact for me. I felt shame. I felt embarrassed that I was laid off. And it's kind of stripped me in my identity. Like I was sharing with you guys, like I was totally all for any company that I worked for, right? I wore it. It was my identity. But once that was stripped away, I had to really think about who am I now, and how am I going to like pick myself up and dust myself off? For me, it took me almost a year to recover from feeling lost and stuck to feeling incredibly passionate about what I'm here to do, and my new purpose and my passion. But I wanted to make sure, how do I save people time from not having to waste a whole year of their life to sit in that shame, to feel stuck? How do I like get it down to 14 days? And that's what I did. I just like sat down and I thought about what were the steps that I took to make that happen. And so I'm creating this course. It's called Finding Your Passion After a Job Loss, and it's a 14 guided course, and it goes from teaching you how to meditate. I have a meditation coach that is going to be a part of this course, and a Clifton's Strengths Finder, certified Clifton strengths finder. Sorry, I can't talk right now. And then the third coach I have is a clarity coach, because once you are able to release through meditation and through journaling, the next step is finding out what are you good at, what are your natural strengths. The last part with the clarity coach is like, okay, now that I have that, what do I see in front of me? These are all the steps that I did on my own, and it took me 8 months, but now I'm able to put it into a course that only takes 14 days now of a transformation. So I'm really excited about it. I'm creating this beta group. If you're interested in learning more about it, please feel free to DM me on LinkedIn or write to me on my blog. I haven't created a landing page yet, but it's in development, and I plan to launch with the beta group starting in June. So please feel free to contact me. Put into any time that you are connecting with me or maybe someone of an influencer space, make sure that you say, hey, I saw you on X, Y, and Z, because it's going to be just so much more helpful for that person to connect and say, hey, thank you for doing that. If you just go to LinkedIn and you just connect with someone without a message, you've already lost there, in my opinion. You have to stand out from the crowd, and that's by speaking up.
Yeah, always a great time to be hanging out with you and talking with you, Valerie.
Yes.
I love the shares, and thank you everyone for spending this time
Yes.
with
Thank you.
us as well, and we appreciate you. Please, please, please get in touch if you need any help with anything, any questions at all. We know someone who knows someone, so. And yeah, and I'm always looking to work with any speakers who are interested in participating in this chat and learn format. If you want to, we can talk through how we get that going. So yeah, reach out to me. And I hope you all have a beautiful day. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and definitely we'll see you all soon. Valerie, do you have any last words for us?
I mean, the only thing is, thank you so much for spending your time with us today. We know that you have a lot of choices and platforms to find resources, and we're so grateful that you landed here with us. Please feel free to reach out to Katy or myself. I'm all about the direct messages. I actually just had an informational interview with someone from here. And don't be afraid to step out and to just try. Don't be afraid.
Great. Thank you, y'all, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.